my honey buns. Welcome back to Honey and Prose, where we celebrate the magic of books, deep conversations, and stories that stay with you long after the last page. Whether you're here for bookish chats, thought-provoking discussion, or just a cozy place to be, you are in the right place, so let's get into it. So I haven't been here for about 2 weeks, and it feels like forever, so I'm happy to be back. And I want to say happy spring to you all. And with that being said, I want to discuss with you all some books that I am looking forward to reading this spring. So I sort of compiled a list of like 14. I know it's an odd number, but 14 books that seem so interesting to me, and it sort of spans different genres. We have contemporary fiction, we have a little bit of horror, we have, I think, some romantasy, and just, I think, some straight up romance. So I am going to start with the contemporary slash historical fiction genre. And the book I am very excited to read is called Dream Count, and it is by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and I hope that I am saying that name pretty well. And this is a story. I am just going to read the blurb that's on Goodreads. It says Chimamaka is a Nigerian travel writer living in America. Alone in the midst of the pandemic, she recalls her past lovers and grapples with her choices and regrets. Zikora, her best friend, is a lawyer who has been successful at everything until, betrayed and brokenhearted, she must turn to the person she thought she needed least. Omelagor, Chimamaka's bold, outspoken cousin, is a financial powerhouse in Nigeria who begins to question how well she knows herself. And Kadiatu, Chimamaka's housekeeper, is proudly raising her daughter in America, but faces an unthinkable hardship that threatens all she has worked to achieve. This is sounding like the characters are sort of, I struggle with the words, but it sounds like they're going through some things but coming out on the other side of it. That is kind of what it sounds like to me. But this book has an average of 4 stars and a lot of good reviews. So this is one of the historical fiction books or contemporary fiction books that I want to read. The next one is by Frederick Bachman. I have not read a book by Frederick Bachman yet. I do want to get Beartown because I have heard so many good things about it. But this one is going to come out on May the 6th, and it is called My Friends. This one says, most people don't even notice them. 3 tiny figures sitting at the end of a long pier in the corner of one of the most famous paintings in the world. Most people think it's a depiction of the sea, but Louisa, an artist herself, knows otherwise, and she is determined to find out the story of these 3 enigmatic figures. 25 years earlier, in a distant town, a group of teenagers find refuge from their difficult home lives by spending their days laughing and telling stories out on a pier. There's Joar, Joar, who never backs down from a fight. Quiet and bookish Ted, who is mourning his father. Allie, the daughter of a man who never stays in one place for long. And finally, there's the artist, a boy who hoards sleeping pills and shuns attention, but who possesses an extraordinary gift that might be his ticket to a better life. These 4 lost souls find in each other a reason to get up each morning, a reason to dream. That sounds really good to me. Something that I am really looking forward to seeing, reading. So the next one is under Mysteries and Thrillers. And this one I actually picked up already from Book of the Month Club. And it's called Count My Lies by Sophie Stava. And this one says, Sloane Caraway is a liar. Harmless lies mostly to make herself proclaimed light. Harmless lies mostly to make herself proclaim sad little life a bit more interesting. Why was that so hard for me to say? So, when Sloane sees a young girl in tears at a park one afternoon, she can't help herself. She tells the girl's very attractive dad she's a nurse and helps him pull a bee stinger from the girl's foot. With this lie and chance encounter, Sloane becomes a nanny for a wealthy and privileged Jay and Violet Lockhart, the perfect New York couple with a brownstone, a daughter in private school, and summers on Block Island. But maybe Sloane isn't the only one lying, and all that's picture perfect harbors a much more dangerous truth. To say anything more is to spoil the most exciting, twisty, and bitingly smart suspense novel to come out in years. I have this in my library already. Cannot wait to read it. It will probably be one of my April reads. The next book is The Tenant by Frida McFadden. And as quietly as it is kept, I have 3 Frida McFadden books on my shelf. Have never read anything by Frida McFadden. I do have The Housemaid, so I do want to go down that housemaid rabbit hole. I have The Teacher, and I have The Crash. I have heard that Frida McFadden is iffy, but I am still interested. So this one is The Tenant. I also want The Inmate. I heard that one was good. This one says Blake Porter is riding high until he's not. Fired abruptly from his job as a VP of marketing and unable to make the mortgage payments on the new brownstone that he shares with his fiancée, he's desperate to make ends meet. Enter Whitney, beautiful, charming, down to earth, and looking for a room to rent. She's exactly what Blake's looking for, or is she? Because something isn't quite right. The neighbors start treating Blake differently. The smell of decay permeates his home, no matter how hard he scrubs. Strange noises jar him awake in the middle of the night, and soon Blake fears someone knows his darkest secret. That is a Frida McFadden book that I can get with. Definitely want to make this one of my spring reads. The next book on my list is under horror novels. This one I have heard a lot about, and this one is called The Unworthy. This is by Augustina Bastarrica, and this one says, from her cell in a mysterious convent, a woman writes the story of her life in whatever she can find. Discarded ink, dirt, even in her own blood. A lower member of the sacred sisterhood deemed unworthy, she dreams of ascending to the ranks of the enlightened at the center of the convent and of pleasing the foreboding superior sister. Outside, the world is plagued by catastrophe. Cities are submerged underwater, electricity and the internet are non-existent, and bands of survivors fight and forage in a cruel, barren landscape. Inside, the narrator is controlled, punished, but safe. But when a stranger makes her way past the convent walls, joining the ranks of the unworthy, she forces the narrator to consider her long-buried past and what she may be overlooking about the enlightened. As the 2 women grow closer, the narrator is increasingly haunted by questions about her own past, the environmental future, and her present life inside the convent. How did she get to the sacred sisterhood? Why can't she remember her life before? And what really happens when a woman is chosen as one of the enlightened? They say that this is dystopian, a tale about climate crisis, ideological extremism, and the title pool of the most violent exploitative instincts. Horror, fiction, dystopia, LGBT, science fiction, queer. Those are all of the genres that this book falls up under. Sounds interesting. It has a 3.78. So sounds like there's some difference of opinion on this book on Goodreads. I still want to get into it. The next one is a book that I had a choice of choosing on Book of the Month Club, but I chose the one about the liar, Count My Lies. And this one is called The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. This one says, a diary is written in 1912 by a Lutheran pastor and is discovered within a wall. What it unveils is a slow massacre, a chain of events that go back to 217 Blackfeet dead in the snow, told in transcribed interviews by a Blackfeet named Good Stab, who shares the narrative of his peculiar life over a series of confessional visits. This is an American Indian revenge story. This is an indigenous revenge story written by one of the new masters of horror, Stephen Graham Jones. This falls under horror, historical fiction, vampires, fiction, indigenous, fantasy. It has it all. And I am interested. This is something that I don't think I've ever gotten into this type of story before, but I am interested to read it. Let's see. So there's one other book under the horror genre, and this one is called The Staircase in the Woods. It is by Chuck Wendig, and this one says, I think I just clicked the wrong thing. One second. This one says, 5 high school friends are bonded by an oath to protect one another no matter what. Then, on a camping trip in the middle of the forest, they find a mysterious staircase to nowhere. You know what? I'm pausing in between this because I remember watching a video on YouTube of this guy who tells stories, and he tells stories so well. But he told a story about a staircase that goes to nowhere in the middle of the woods. That is already piquing my interest. It also says one friend walks up and never comes back down. Then the staircase disappears. 20 years later, the staircase has reappeared. Now the group returns to find the lost boy and what lies beyond the staircase in the woods. So good. Sounds so good. It has 3.91 stars, so a lot of people like it. I definitely want to get this into my TBR for the spring. April, May, somewhere in there. Alright, I had to take me a quick break. I had to go and get me something warm to drink because this throat is not letting me be great. So I made me a mocha latte. If you ever go to the grocery store and they have that Javalia mocha latte, try it out. It is pretty good. So we are moving on to the romance novels. And this one I pre-ordered and can't wait to read it. And it is by Elsie Silver, and it is Wild Side. It is like the 3rd book in a series. I also have Wild Love, Wild Eyes, and then Wild Side. So I want to get into that series. But Wild Side says, I'd always dreamed of my wedding day, but not like this. Not looking into the eyes of the man who betrayed me. But when my nephew's guardianship is contested, I decided I'll do whatever it takes to keep him in Rose Hill, even if it means marrying the enemy. Reese Dupree, a man who is secretive, broody, and completely infuriating. A man whose work takes him away for weeks on end and brings him back covered in mysterious bruises. That's weird. And ones he won't talk about. In fact, we barely talk at all. Which would be fine, except when he's not talking, he's staring. And the way he looks at me is borderline indecent. The tension between us has always been palpable, but living under the same roof is a dangerous temptation. I swore I would never forgive him, but that was before I knew the man behind the mask, the one who's fierce and protective, the one who's gentle and patient, the one who shows up for us when we need him the most. He's not at all who I thought he was. This is romance, enemies to lovers, small town romance, contemporary romance, sports romance, all of those, I guess, tropes, but they put it under genres. But I would like to get into this. I don't know, and please let me know. This series, are they like standalone stories, or do they continue from one book to the other one? And then the next one is Abby Jimenez, Say You'll Remember Me. And this one says, there might be no such thing as a perfect guy, but Xavier Rush comes disastrously close. A gorgeous veterinarian giving Greek god vibes, all while cuddling a tiny kitten? Immediately, yes. That is, until Xavier opens his mouth and proves that even sculpted gods can say the absolute wrong thing. Like, really wrong. Of course, there's nothing Samantha loves more than proving an asshole wrong. Unless, of course, he can admit he made a mistake. But after one incredible and seemingly endless date, possibly the best in living history, Samantha is forced to admit the truth, that her family is in crisis and any kind of relationship would be impossible. Samantha begs Xavier to forget her, to remember their night together is a perfect moment, crushing as that may be. Only no amount of distance or time is nearly enough to forget that something between them. And the only thing better than one single perfect memory is to make a life and even a love worth remembering. That sounds so good. So good. There are so many books for spring that I want to read. And the next one is by Jasmine Guillory. This one actually comes out on April the 8th. And it is called Flirting Lessons. This one says, Avery Jensen is almost 30, fresh off of a breakup, and she's tired of always being so uptight and well behaved. She wants to get a hobby, date around, especially other women, flirt with everyone she sees, all the fun stuff normal people do in their 20s. Avery doesn't know how to do any of that. She doesn't have a lot of dating experience with men or women, and despite being self-assured at work, she doesn't have a lot of confidence when it comes to romance. Enter Taylor Cameron, Napa Valley's biggest flirt and champion heartbreaker. Taylor just broke up with her most recent girlfriend, and her best friend bet her that she can't make it until Labor Day without sleeping with someone. 2 whole months without sex? Taylor? So she offers to give Avery flirting lessons. It will keep her busy, stop her from texting people she shouldn't, and it might distract her from how inadequate she feels compared to her friends, who all seem much more settled and adult than Taylor. There's much more than this, but this is a long preview or a long synopsis of this book, but the book sounds interesting. Of course, this is attached to Amazon, so it's saying on the Kindle book of this is $10.99. It has 3.66 stars, so it sounds like there is a little bit of debate on this book. And of course, you all, we are waiting for Skyland number 3 from Kennedy Ryan. Can't get enough. This is, like I said, number 3 in the Skyland series. I have read This Could Be Us. No, I keep saying that. I have not read This Could Be Us yet. That is going to be on my April TBR list. I have read Before I Let Go, which is the first book in that series. So this one is surrounding I forgot. Let me see. Why can't I remember the names of the fabulous friends? But Hendrix. It says Hendrix Berry lives a fabulous life. She has phenomenal friends, a loving family, and a thriving business that places her in the entertainment industry's rarefied air. Your vision board, she's probably living it. She's a woman with goals, dreams, ambitions, always striving upward. And in the midst of everything, she's facing her toughest challenge, caring for an aging parent, which I feel like she mentioned in the, sorry, my glasses are sliding. She mentioned in the book, Before I Let Go. It says, who has time for romance? From her experience, there's a low ROI on relationships. She hasn't met the man who can keep up with her anyway, until him. Tech mogul Maverick Bell is a dilemma wrapped in an exquisitely tailored suit and knee-melting charm. From their first charged glance at the summer's hottest party, Hendrix feels like she's met her match. Only he can't be. Mav may be the first to make her feel this seen and desired and appreciated, but he's the last one she can have. Forbidden fruit is the juiciest, and this man is off limits if she plans to stay the course she set for herself. But when Maverick gives chase, pursuing her, spoiling her, understanding her, is it time to let herself have something more? Yes, I cannot wait till this comes out, and it comes out May the 13th. We are now going down into the romantasy genre. And the first one is by Kaylee Smith, and it is Enchantra. I have Phantasma. Yeah. I have Phantasma back here on my shelf. That might be going in my April TBR as well. I got that one, I think, as my first Book of the Month Club book. But this is number 2 in that series. And this is the Wicked Games series. So, ready or not, the game has begun. Genevieve Grimm has felt adrift ever since her sister became the head of the family. So, when a mysterious friend of their mother's invites her to Italy, she accepts. She arrives at his grand place, expecting passion and magic, decadence and luxury, perhaps even a midnight ball. She doesn't expect the owner's ruthlessly handsome son to slam the door in her face. Rowan Silver is tall, dark, and exceptionally rude. And, invitation or not, he demands Genevieve leave and never come back. But Genevieve follows nobody's orders, especially those of arrogant rich boys. She slips inside and immediately discovers her mistake. Rowan and his family are caught in an insidious game of hide and seek where only one can win. The rest will be trapped in hell until the competition begins again. Genevieve must either join the hunt or forfeit any hope of escaping. But to her dismay, her best chance of survival lies with Rowan. Since lovers may play as a pair, Rowan and Genevieve agree to form an alliance under the guise of a fake courtship. However, as they race through the game's elaborate labyrinth, trapped among gleaming gold and shining marble, their loathing gives way to irresistible attraction. Only Rowan is keeping secrets, especially when it comes to his ruthless family, and Genevieve can't help but wonder if she's trapped in 2 treacherous games, Enchantra and the one Rowan is playing with her heart. I can't wait. This one comes out April the 8th. April the 8th, so it's coming out soon. All right, so I think the last genre here that I am choosing from is YA novels. And of course, the anticipated Oathbound, which I pre-ordered. It is on my shelf. I am now reading Legendborn because I'm starting from the beginning. But this is book number 3 in the Legendborn cycle. And severed from the Legendborn, Oathborn to a monster. Ooh. Bree Matthews is alone. She exiled herself from the Legendborn order, cut her ancestral connections, and turned away from the friends who can't understand the impossible cost of her powers. This is the only way to keep herself and those she loves safe. But Bree's decision has come with a terrible price. An unbreakable bargain with the Shadow King himself, a shapeshifter who can move between humanity, the demon underworld, and the legend-born secret society. In exchange for training to wield her unprecedented abilities, Bree has put her future in the Shadow King's hands and unwittingly bound herself to do his bidding as his new protege. Meanwhile, the other scions must face war with their round table fractured, leaderless, and missing its king's mage, as Selwyn has also disappeared. When Nick is detained by the Order's Merlins, he invokes an ancient law that requires the High Council of Regents to convene at the Northern Keep and grant him an audience. No one knows what he will demand of them or what secrets he has kept hidden from the table. As a string of mysterious kidnappings escalate and Merlins are found dead, it becomes clear that no matter how hard Bree runs from who she is, the past will always find her. See, now that's telling me some stuff. I don't quite think it's like, it's not a spoiler, but it is telling me there's much more to this Legend-born cycle, and I have just touched like the tip of the iceberg, starting with Legend-born. This book has 4.5 stars, so a lot of people are liking this book. So I am ready to jump in to the rest of this series. And then there is Fearless by Lauren Roberts. I forgot to say that Oathbound is by Tracy Dion. And Fearless is part of the Powerless trilogy. So this is book number 3. I do have Powerless and Reckless. So I do want to get Fearless. And this one says, Peyton Gray and Kai Azer return to the kingdom of Ilia. I feel like I'm saying all is wrong. And Peyton has a life-altering choice to make. Whatever she decides will determine her fate and the fate of those around her forever. And in the ultimate battle of love and loyalty, who wins? So we'll see. I am definitely going to start with Powerless. And see how I like it. I may or may not get what was that last one? I said I may not get that one. And then the last book is called The Thrashers, and it has 4.43 stars. It is by Julie Soto. And I think this one is like right up my alley. This one says, welcome to the Thrashers, an elite friend group at New Helvetia High. They're everything everyone wants to be. Jody Dillon was never meant to be one of them. Julian, Lucy, Paige, and the infamous Zach Thrasher are rich, sophisticated, and love attention. Jody feels out of place, but Zach's her childhood best friend, so she's in. Then Emily Mills, who desperately wants to be a Thrasher, dies, and the whispers about the Thrashers begin. As Emily's journal surfaces, detectives close in, and Jody faces an impossible choice: betray her friends or protect herself. But as eerie messages and strange occurrences escalate, it becomes clear Emily isn't done with them yet. A twisty thrill ride of unforgettable drama and suspense that encapsulates the vulnerability of adolescents playing adult games. So, thriller, mystery thriller, those are all the genres that this book falls under. But this sounds just like something I would want to read. Even though it is a YA novel, it is definitely something that I want to get into. And that is it, you all. I hope I have not missed anything. I don't think I have. I think I went over all of them with you. Those are the books that I want to get into. Hopefully, I know I can't read all of those this spring, but I have a nice selection of books to choose from. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you saw some books that piqued your interest that you might want to get into and read this spring. And until next time, keep reading, keep dreaming, and I will see you in the next chapter. Bye.